Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ GOONS podcast. I'm one half of the team here, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me as always every week is...
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball, no new Nico. Good to be back for another week.
Yes, good to be back. For all those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that we have a very, very special guest, a returning guest, Master Donnie, coach of one of the best teams in the United States of America for both youth and adults, Team Lloyd Irvin. He is the architect of some of the best fighters that we have representing America in grappling. Welcome back on the show, Master Donnie.
Thanks for having me. It's always great talking to you too. I love the conversation. So yeah, I'm ready. What are we talking about today?
Well, we will be talking about the Evolve Your Game lightweight tournament for $10,000, a collection of the best lightweight grapplers in the gi in the entire world. A lot of stars in this bracket. It's a new tournament. They asked me to do their open weight later on in the year, and they look like they're really serious. It's supposed to take place on April 3rd this year in Las Vegas. But before we begin with that, I mean, we got a whole breakdown for you folks. Nico, I got to tell you something. I'm a little bit fed up with something. Can I tell you?
Wait, what of all the things? Like, what of all the things that you could possibly be fed up with in like 2021?
Oh, there's so much, but this week has been really disturbing my spirit. You know, I'm kind of sick and tired of being the go-to racism and jiu-jitsu guy. I kind of don't like being that guy. I appreciate people reaching out to me. I appreciate people finding as though I'm articulate enough and intelligent enough and have enough experience on the subject to talk to, but I like talking about jiu-jitsu a lot too. Like, I'm a black belt world champion. Like, I'm more than just the black guy that just hates racists and I do jiu-jitsu. It is very strange. It's very awkward at times. I get a lot of invites, and I thought about it the other day and I said to myself, you know, why do people just invite me for that? Like, I'm more than that. And I'm very happy that we have Master Donnie here to talk about some actual jiu-jitsu so I can show the world I know what the hell I'm talking about. But I will say this, from now on, if you want me to be a guest on your show to talk about racism in jiu-jitsu and you want me to ease your white guilt, I'm going to have to start charging your asses. So from now on, I'm going to be the racism consultant extraordinaire for this sport. So, you know, just message me on Instagram at Tim Spriggs BJJ, or you can email me at bookspriggsbjj@gmail, and I will send you an invoice and I can ease your white guilt and tell you how to be a lot less racist. You know?
Yeah. I think people like Dom Hoskins have voiced some similar thoughts on the topic. I think he had maybe a step-by-step guide of how to deal with it. And the first thing was like, don't ask black people.
No.
It's rough. It's rough. But like, I can only imagine what your DMs are like too. And you know, Jamil don't talk, so it's not like nobody's going to Jamil. He's so quiet. Like,
I need backup. That's what I need. Like, it can't just be one or two of us. Like, you know, they need to spread it out, but that's okay. I'm gonna start charging. But yeah, Nico, that's what was on my mind.
Oh, you got to vent. Got to vent. What do they call it on the Breakfast Club when they like have that people just call in and get it off their chest? You got to do it. It's therapeutic.
Why you mad, son? I think there's like a segment we need. Is like, why you mad, son? Like, I'm the mad grappler. The Biggie album, Life After Death, they had the mad rapper. I'm the mad grappler. I'll tell you why I'm mad, son. But Master Donnie, we have a huge event on our hands in April.
Are you going, Master Donnie?
I am trying to work that out. I think so. I'm trying to work that out right now. But yeah, I definitely would like to be there. Most definitely.
Because if not you, who would go with Jamil to coach Jamil?
I mean, Jamil could, he could select any one of his training partners. I mean, we got Elijah. He could pick Angelo. He could pick Malachi. If you know, no, I haven't talked to Master Lloyd about it, but Master Lloyd is, I think, supposed to be in Vegas the week after. So
I was like,
you never know. So we should be able to have him taken care of. But I'm definitely trying to get there. But the more the merrier, right? As many people as can go as possible, as long as we're keeping it, COVID safe. But doing our due diligence on that part. But I haven't flown or done anything since the pandemic. So I'm open to going. I'm just trying to work out some particulars, but I think most likely I'll be there.
Oh, that's a tip. So before we get into the actual breakdown, like you mentioned about like Corona, is there anything in particular like Jamil has got to do before the event or like that they set up for y'all?
So as far as I know, I think it's just regular, like domestic flight. I don't think they're whatever they've been requiring for the last few months. I don't think there's anything extra. He hasn't heard anything. I'm wondering, I would hope that they're making them all take at least some form of test, before they compete. But I don't know if they're going to do that, have them do that when they get down there, or I should say over there, or do they want them to do it here? Like I said, I haven't flown, so I don't know if that's a standard thing you have to do before you fly anywhere now. I have no idea. So I'm kind of in the dark about that as well.
Crazy.
Last trip I went on with you, Master Donnie, was Korea in January. Was it December or January? Well, we came back sick as a dog, and we still think we had the Rona.
Oh, man. Yeah, we may have had it. We may have, I swear, man, we may have already been through it. But yes, you were supposed to find out. You were the front man on the test, the antibodies test.
I keep on neglecting to do it. My form of protection is this, Master Donnie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen, I'm just doing a cross on myself 3 times.
Yeah,
a few Hail Marys and be like, please, Lord, don't let me have a fever when I come home from practice. But
that's why I don't go to
TLI. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off the names in the bracket. I have a list up here. I'll just name off the guys first, and then I'll go back through the list, and we can exchange notes, pros, cons of each guy's style, some of their biggest accomplishments and whatnot. So first, let's read off who's going to be in the star-studded bracket for the Evolve Your Game lightweight tournament. So we have Marcio Andre, Jonatha Alves, Isaac Doederlein, Thiago Macedo, Matheus Gabriel, Gianni Grippo, Andy Murasaki, and Shane Jamil Hill Taylor.
Ooh, that's a good card right there.
Man,
that is a good card right there.
All right, so what's the rule set, and when are they releasing like brackets?
Oh wow, Nico, that's a good question. See, out of all this research I did not look up the rules. So let's look at the rules.
I never know. Yeah, it's crazy because all these different tournaments always have like
same
different.
Here, Tim.
Do you guys, Master Donnie, you guys know the rules? Like, what you got Jamil right there. He should know the rules.
Man, I don't know where Jamil's at. Jamil told me that it's basically IBJJF, but I don't know if there's anything like if there's any little. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the time limits. Now that you point that out, I did actually a bad job researching this. I don't know the time limits. I don't know any of that. So I just know the people in it.
I have the rules up here actually because, like I
nice.
said, they messaged me to do the open weight one. It was supposed to be on April 3rd, but they switched it over to the lightweight one. So
okay.
it is gi IBJJF rules, no advantages, double guard pull. First one to come up gets 2. 50-50, you have to get out of 50-50 to get the points.
Okay.
So
so you have to get up. Okay.
as an aside, I have to say something. If jiu-jitsu is gonna grow, it has to have unified rules.
Yes.
There needs to be unified rules. There's too many stupid ass rule sets. It's too many silly ones. Like, listen, I don't like EBI rules because I don't like the overtime.
Yeah.
I don't like you can just start on someone's back and it's like, oh, who's better at escaping? Like the whole point is that you don't get put there.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. It's there's too many, like, and then these rule sets. So if you have like EBI, so if you have a entire academy training particularly for this rule set, and they only compete in that rule set, then you have A grappler doing that. Instead, B grappler is trying to win the Gi Worlds. They're trying to win Abu Dhabi. They're trying to, you know what I mean? So they're trying to stay active and compete as much as possible throughout the year. Well, then you start to wonder, okay, where you know, if I like Hoffa, for instance, right? When's the last time someone's been on Hoffa's back? You know what I mean? So you have a guy that can win a match over Hoffa if they can just make it through the first round or the preliminary round and get to the back take round, and now have to win via riding time or maybe even be able to get the submission on a guy who's worked his whole life to make sure he's never in that position. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I understand the purity of it and how it's, you know, how it does offer different, it offers a different type of, you know, situation that you hardly ever get to see in jiu-jitsu because guys are so good at preventing these positions. And then you're like, well, if the guy can't get out of an armbar, how good is he? Well, he's very good because the main reason he can't get out of an armbar is because he's never in one. You know what I mean? So he's, you know, it's, I mean, like I said, I don't know, you know, I'm with you on that. I like the unified rule system. I do like some of these other events, but they're kind of gimmicky to me. You know, we got to come up with, you know, if the IBJJF, particularly Gi, is the standard for what everyone believes is a world champion, they have to win that tournament. Then I think, you know, right now they're the, you know, like it or not, they're the governing body of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with the gi on. Then I think we should go with their rules and then fight within their organization to make the rules better. But, you know, same that people do with the Olympics, and then also with no gi. If ADCC wants to be that governing body, you know, they have, well, there's a lot of little fixes they need to make. But if they're the governing body, then let's go with their rules for no gi. And if IBJJF is trying to make a little run at that, you know, especially with the addition of heel hooks and things like that, then maybe the IBJJF will be the governing body for, you know, both rule sets, which I believe would be good, because it's a lot, even though the IBJJF, you know, people have their issues with the IBJJF, it's a lot easier to fight one opponent. You know, okay, we gotta worry about referee bias in the IBJJF. Well, we're fighting the IBJJF, so we can have this fight with them and not be like, okay, one moment we're fighting with IBJJF, the next moment we're fighting with EBI, next moment we're fighting with Flow, the next moment, you know, about trying to get fair calls and trying to get fair exposure and all this type of stuff. I'd much rather be fighting one opponent, have a governing body. And if right now that governing body is IBJJF, then I think we should go with their rules. That's just my 2 cents on that, or 10 cents, I should say.
You know, that's probably like the best explanation of how things should be as far as dealing with governing bodies that I've heard. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
it's
that's just
it's it's very difficult if we have so many different rule sets, and it's hard to say who's the best if there's different rules. Like when I did ADCC trials, I would be running up the points in the first half of the trials, like in the matches, first half of the match. But then to think like I just passed this guy's guard, and then now points start, and I have no points.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like, man, I'm
yeah,
fucking you up. Like
yeah, yeah,
it should count for something.
yeah,
So I understand completely. But I do like that they're actually instituting IBJJF rules, and I like their twist on the rules where double guard pull gets 2 points.
yeah,
Not just like, oh, you get advantage. Like 2 points means a lot more. And 50-50, I think that rule is already in IBJJF where you have to
yeah,
disentangle from 50-50.
yeah. I thought so too, but I wasn't sure about that. But yeah,
At least we're getting some kind of unified rules. So let's just start from the top. Marcio Andre. He's a black belt world champion in Nogi, 3-time European champion, UAE champion, and ACB Grand Prix champ. And for those of you listening at home, UAE stands for United Arab Emirates Jiu-Jitsu champion. They have tournaments. Jiu-Jitsu is huge in the Arab Emirates. What do you have about him? Or what do you have as far as like a breakdown or a scouting report for Marcio Andre and Master Donnie?
okay. So before I even start through these guys' game with like a fine. How do you say it? You know what I mean?
Fine tooth
Right?
comb. Fine tooth comb.
Fine tooth comb. Yeah. But I just want to say that every single one of these competitors is really awesome. I enjoy watching all of their games. But if I have to put my analyst hat on, I'm gonna try to find strengths and weaknesses. I'm not gonna hold back. So I'm just gonna.
That's exactly why we
Yeah,
got you here today, Master Donnie.
yeah,
We
yeah.
want all the tea, all of
It
it.
sounds like the
Oh
dog
yeah,
approves too.
yeah. My dog is. He's like, tell him. He's like, tell him. So Marcio Andre, strength wise, I mean, I think one, his experience in competing at a high level, at a super high level, and his experience in being in wars with some of the best guys historically in jiu-jitsu. Hold on one second. Hey, my bad.
It's all good.
So historically, I mean, he's fought Hoffa, he's fought Cobrinha, he's fought Tenquinho, he's fought everybody there is to fight. And he's fought them. He's got some wins, over these guys. He's fought them all in his prime. I would, to give him a little bit more, he made it to the finals, I think, beating Cobrinha to fight Hoffa while he was just kind of entering his prime, and these guys were already dominating the sport. They were kind of the who's who in the sport. So he really kind of showed up that one year, and he ended up not winning. He ended up losing to Hoffa in the finals. I think that was Hoffa's final world championship that he competed in. But Marcio
match
Andre,
too.
he just, yeah, it was good. It was a back and forth. I don't see I always see Marcio Andre as one of the most dangerous guys because he can win so many different ways. He can play the game. He can go all out and try to submit you. And I've seen him. He kind of, I don't know if this, he kind of, to me, is like the Andre Galvao of the lighter weight athletes. He kind of just like, he hits the go button and he just goes and he does all, you don't see, he'll throw something at you that you haven't seen him do before. One moment you think he wants to play guard and stall. The next moment he's flying all over the place, trying to wear the other guy out with pressure and persistence. He's just a very impressive grappler. The only title he hasn't been able to squeeze out yet, I think, is that world title with the gi on. I think that's the only one he hasn't been able to get, but he's been in the finals a couple times. I mean, he's always been impressive. If there's a weakness that I can pull from his game, which is a little crazy, it's a little contradictory to what I see, because he does seem to be like a pressure-based grappler, and I don't mean that by like being strong or heavy, but I mean constantly pushing and creating the pace of a fight. He does seem to tire sometimes. And I don't know if that's a weight issue that he's had in the past. I don't know if he's young and likes to party. I don't know what it is behind that. I have seen him tire, and even when it's not so evident, as far as he may not be tired, and from a cardiovascular, like the movements that he was exploding with in the beginning of the match aren't there at the end of the match, you know? So that's the only, I mean, if you would even, because I mean, everyone gets tired. So I don't know if you would consider that a weakness, but if you were to look at him and see, he's matured past a lot of the things. Like if you were to ask me that question 6 years ago, I'd say, oh, every once in a while he gets caught slipping. I don't think that it happens to him too much anymore. Last time I think I saw him get caught slipping was when he got choked by Cashinho. He was pretty much fully controlling the match, and then he ended up getting caught in a loop choke, getting put to sleep by Cashinho. But that's all I have with Marcio. But I think he's, I don't want to say the most dangerous, because I think every single one is dangerous. But
he's
if
very
you were
well
forcing, yeah. I mean, if we were going odds on favorite, he has to go. You have to put him high on the list. As far as if you were going to be placing odds on everyone, he has to be high on the list.
I mean, this guy has so much experience. I remember fighting him in Europeans, a purple belt. The guy came up with old school Novo União, and he is a two-way grappler. Like in basketball, they say some guys are offensive juggernauts, some guys are just defense. He is a two-way grappler. He plays both top and bottom comfortably. I was watching a lot of his footage, and I'm most impressed by his bullfight and long step. He has a bullfight and long step specialist, like a lot of movement. And as far as the lightweights goes, he's super athletic. Like, don't let the bald head fool you. Like, he's not old. He just went bald. He can go. He goes in. And for
he's been going bald since he was like 16.
Yeah, like he goes in, man. I'm really impressed by how he's able to mix it up. And for someone to be able to pass these guards and be a two-way specialist in lightweight is very refreshing. He has that old school style. It's a throwback to the old Novo União lightweights of the 90s and the 2000s. If we're talking about, you know, Shaolin, or we're talking about what's his name? He's won 5 world titles.
You got Leo Vera.
He wasn't Novo União, but who was the guy who was Novo União? He won 5 world titles. His name is slipping me right now.
Orlando Montera is Novo União too, isn't he?
Just the old school
5 world titles.
I don't know, but Marcio trains with Fabio Andrade. Marcio comes from the social project. He straight up rolled into the projects off the streets trying to learn to fight just to fight, like, and got kicked out the gym.
So I mean, the guy brings it. It's not. We're gonna get later into some other guys in this list that are specialists at the rules and just knowing how to win according to this very fine skill set. But if we're just talking about a dog, Marcio Andre is a dog. You look at his credentials. I'm looking down the list. you know, we can say world titles are, you know, important, yes, but
Yeah.
if we're talking about different events, which I think that jiu-jitsu is all about, it's not just about this one tournament every year. It's a plethora of tournaments that you're going out there and you have to show and prove. The man has won Nogi world titles. This man has won Europeans. He's won UAE championships. He's won the ACB Grand Prix. He can fight. The man can grapple his ass off. I mean, his number one submission, his highlight reel submission is the no arm triangle. This guy does a no arm triangle. That is the epitome of we're getting it in. I want your neck in any way possible. I don't even need one of your arms in this triangle. I'm going to go for it. The guy beat Cabrinha in 2016. He had a very close match.
Passed Cabrinha's guard.
Passed Cabrinha's guard.
He passed Cabrinha. He's the only person I think has passed Cabrinha's guard ever that I can think of, you know.
As someone that appreciates the history and has been in the game, you know, I don't toot my own homers, but like I know this shit. There's a level, there is a God tier. When you beat someone on the God tier, you're up there. Credentials be damned.
Yeah.
And he's shown that it's not just a fluke. You pass Cabrinha's guard, you beat him at Worlds, you're that guy. He is up there. Like, we have this semantics with IBJJF. Oh, you got to win 4 IBJJF world titles to be a Hall of Famer. Listen, Marcio Andre, like, if we're going to talk about lightweights, this guy is one of the best in the world. He brings it. My only drawback for him is sometimes he gets caught in the open guard spread eagle, like that position where your legs are up in the air like this, and you're just like, I don't know whether I want to go De La Hiva. I don't know if I want to sit up. And you're stuck there, and by the time the match is over, like you're like, oh, I'm down an advantage, and I can't really sweep, which a lot of that is the game. When I was watching the footage from all these guys, that happens, but Marcio Andre any given day can beat anybody in the world, and his reputation precedes himself, so he can do it. He's definitely one of the favorites, and he's up there. He's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be a tough out for anybody. Nico, anything to add?
No, you guys went through it.
Okay. Next down the list,
another God tier level athlete.
Well, time out. So when I say God tier, sometimes it relates to like your credentials and your skill, and sometimes there's a technique that you have that is God tier that is so good that just makes you dangerous. It's like 007 GoldenEye on N64. Like, some guys got the golden gun with the technique that they have. And this next guy is a prime example. His name is Jonatha Alves from Atos.
Your Portuguese is horrible, Tim. Jonathan Alves.
I thought it was Jonatha.
Jonathan. That was just weird accents. I don't know, but you just accentuate it so much. I guess it's just like
Jonathan Alves, senorita. How about that? Is that better?
That's how I say it.
Ask Siri how to say it correctly.
Jonathan Alves
he needs a nickname. Why doesn't he have a nickname? There's too many Jonathans in jiu-jitsu for him to not have a nickname.
Oh, he has a nickname, Potato. Jamil calls him Potato.
That's the TLI nickname.
I don't know these. It's called Potato because
you're gonna start
like Potato Head, apparently.
Potato.
I didn't give it a nickname, but Jonathan Potato Alves, 2-time Pan American champion and 2-time world champion of the color belts. Did he win Pans this year, Black? Does anyone know?
I don't even know. Did he compete?
He definitely competed. I think he did. He did win Pans at Black Belt.
He did win. He won. I believe he won. I'm about 80% sure. Yeah.
He had a great run this year. Well, I mean, you broke his footage down before we went to Korea for Spider Invitational, Master Donnie. What do you think?
Yes.
What do you think about him as a competitor?
So, how do I say it again? Jonathan. Alves.
Just call him Johnny. Just call him Johnny because we're filthy gringos, according to Nico, and we can't pronounce the Portuguese.
That was all on you. I didn't attack Master Donnie. Don't put, I ain't come for you, Master Donnie.
Go ahead, Master Donnie. You do your thing. You're the senior black belt here. You said you call him whatever the hell you want. You want to call him Potato? You call him Jonathan? Jonatha?
So
whatever you want.
So we've been seeing Jonathan since he's been in juvenile. I think Derek fought him before at juvenile. We know as coming up through the ranks. He's like the next the big cheese coming from E.U.G. He's 100% an E.U.G. disciple, and I say that with the highest regard because Hoffa and Guy to me are very meticulous. They teach a very very precise style. Like they expect precision. You can see it in Jonatha. He's very precise. He's I won't say he's mastered it because we got to see him at black belt more, but he's very good at getting how was the master of forcing you to play in the jiu-jitsu that he wanted you to play from, you know, and trying to work toward that direction. He's game. Obviously he's strong from, you know, a lot of the similar positions that Hoffa was strong from. He's got a pretty strong 50-50. He's got a strong, definitely a strong berimbolo game. He is most dangerous when he's ahead on points. All these guys too, you know, without just because I'm saying he's very, very good at the berimbolo or very good at the De La Riva does not mean they're not good at the other things. It's just where do they stand out? If it's in position that you're going to put this guy in and he has to win a match, which position is he going to be in? I mean, all of them, they're all black belt level. They're all incredible. They all have incredible jiu-jitsu. But now when they're sharpening their swords, which sword is sharpest? And I would say Jonatha Alves has a very, 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 very strong. He may be at the I won't say he's the very top of the pack. I got someone else at the top of the pack for what he does. But he has a strong, very strong berimbolo attack, and it's so strong that if he varies from it, it's hard for the opponent to catch up. So if he comes away from it to do something else, they're so focused. They have to be so focused on dealing with this position and how strong he is from this position and how much control he has when he's in that position, that a lot of times it even benefits him even when he's not using it, you know? So it's a very strong tool that he has in his belt, his berimbolo attacks and his De La Riva attacks. And then, like I said, strong from everywhere, good 50-50, good from the bottom, good from the top. If I'm going to find a weakness for him, I'm only saying this. Most of the weaknesses that I'm going to say is just because I haven't really seen them work. It doesn't mean they're not in the gym, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. I don't know. But when I see him compete, I've never seen him. He doesn't seem strong or confident in scoring from neutral positions. And there's a couple people on today's list that have that same weakness. I don't see Jonatha like shooting and scoring takedowns. I don't see him even with for instance, if you put 10 seconds on the clock and he's down by 2, he's going to try to pull and sweep in 10 seconds. You know what I mean? He's not going to shoot a takedown, or he's not going to do. So to me, I consider, in my personal preference, I consider that a weakness. You know what I mean? Because if you're standing across from him, if you're trying to exploit something and you're saying, oh, you're up by advantage, don't worry. You 15 to 20 seconds left, you're good. Just avoid. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's a weakness. But if it's like, you know, if you're fighting like a Tim Spriggs or Angelo or DJ Jackson or Cobrinha, or, you know, these guys, or Galval is a really good example. You got to be careful. Galval can score on you from anywhere. You know what I mean? He can go for a judo throw. He can go for a wrestling takedown. He can pull and sweep. You have to be, there is no weakness in that regard. So like I said, if I was gonna find an advantage or find a weakness in Jonathan's game, it's his ability to score from neutral positions. So that's why I think one thing with him, it's very important that he is controlling the pace of the match, one, and it's always better if he's ahead on points. So even when you're in that seesaw game, he has to have if he's controlling the points and he's ahead, then he's good to go. He's always very hard to beat because it's very hard to come out of that, especially if he doesn't have to take a chance. If he doesn't have to take a chance, nothing's impossible, but he makes it very difficult for you to win. He's very, very precise tactician. And then that's why I say, when I say he's a disciple of the Mendes brothers, you see that's, if you look at historically how they fought in their careers, that's how they fought. And in the instances that they lost, it was when that was broken. And fairness to them, they won 99% of their matches. And most people lose when you can break their strategy, right? When you have two really good people. So in fairness to them, but when you're talking about a pool of really good grapplers, good competitors, like I said, we're nitpicking right now. So if I was going to find a weakness for Jonathan, it would be that. And a strength that he has is he's very strong for this division. I think he probably will be the biggest person in the division.
He did just fight a lightweight at Pans.
Yeah, he fights lightweight, and all the rest of these guys fight featherweight. They all fight featherweight. So the pro is that it's not going to hurt for him that he's a strong, that he's as strong as he is. The downside is that he may be required to have a more disciplined weight cut or whatever, whatever the situation may be. I don't know if it's a day before. I don't know any of that, but so it could be a pro, it could be a con for him. But yeah, that's my observation of him.
I look at Jonatha Alves as having a god tier Berimbolo. The guy went to the top of the mountain and sought out the masters, and he found the perfect Berimbolo instructions from the source, raw, uncut, 100% Berimbolo, and he just sat under the learning tree and found out how to do it. This man, I hate to admit it, he went at Jamil, went straight Berimbolo, went to his back. No one does that to Jamil.
Yep. No,
Jamil,
100%.
and we're going to get to Jamil and how great I think he is. And not even as a teammate, just as a grappler, as a fellow martial artist, how great Jamil is. No one does that to Jamil. He did that. His ability to convert and control his grips make him hard to pass, and he's always in position to score. I saw his matches in the finals at Panzershine. I saw him at that match with his last name's Gracie. The Gracie kid in Black Belt. It's not a real Gracie, but Jonatha's Gracie.
Oh, Jonatha's Gracie, yeah.
And the guy it looked like he was going to get tight pass. This is like he's going to get knee cut or knee cutted. He was able to control the pants legs, stay inverted, and come up and score. It's a testament to his technique. It's a testament that is his game. He is a lightweight grappler through and through when it comes to this gi stuff. I mean, he came under the Mendes brothers. You're not just going to pass his guard. He's strong enough, too, where he can maintain the grips and maintain the control. He's a master of that crab ride, putting the shin in the bend of the knee. So you're always in danger. You're never going to be able to just leave him. When I think about that, inversion to the double crab ride or the single crab ride, I look at it like they're stuck to you like glue. No matter what, they're going to actually crab ride you on top to a neutral position where he can't get pulled into 50-50, even if he comes on top and sweeps, where you can sweep him back. Or he's going to rotate his leg to the outside and twister you and then get it to your back. So he's stuck to you like glue. He's an example, and there are other guys on the list that I will mention too, as a guy that has to stick to the script, like you were saying. These guys have a strict A, B, C, D, E, F, G to Z game plan. It's refined. It's a scalpel. However, sometimes you got to use a hammer. He might not be able to, in this early point in his black belt career, to adapt and to improvise. And, you know, some people, they don't really have to at the lower belts. If you come up under a Hafa and a Gi, your technical proficiency in these techniques, and being that you're a lightweight coming up under two of the goats of lightweight, make it so your game is so refined, your technique is so refined that you're never going to have to expand. And it's no shade towards the ALJ system, but if you come up in a school full of guys that do the same stuff, you're never going to be forced to do that. When you mentioned like Andre Galvao and his development as a grappler, he came up with Cabrinha, like Terere, all these guys grapple differently. That room is so different bro, you had to do gymnastica natural to be able to adapt, to be able to do stuff. You go to ALJ, you're learning from the masters, you're never going to have to do that. And maybe he might not ever have to.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, his problem is going to be his inexperience, and that his script is so tight that if anyone is able to force him out of it, he might flip out. A prime example is when Hafa lost to Tanquinho.
Yeah.
Tanquinho was just as strong, if not stronger, than Hafa. They both were masters of the game they played. It's just that what happened at the end of that match? A scramble. And if Hafa's not used to, or Jonatha Alves is not used to, he may not be able to come out of nowhere and just do the damn thing. You know, it's going to be difficult because that's where experience kicks in. Our first two guys we mentioned is Marcio Andre and Jonatha Alves. Marcio Andre is one of those guys where he came up, he was able to adapt. He had to be like, do some shit on the fly because you're rolling with different guys all the time and you have the experience. Jonatha, we don't know. Is he going to be able to be a scalpel, or is he going to have to be a claymore? And for those who don't know, claymore is like, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be a claymore or a scalpel. Sometimes you got to be a claymore. If he fights loose on top, he can turn you into a highlight, which is a testament to him being up on points. Because you got to assume that he's going to pull, he's going to go for sweep, and he's going to get it. I love this rule set, though. That's another thing that we got to go over, too, again. If it's double guard pull, first person gets up on two, changes the dynamic. Jonatha is like so hell-bent on being on the bottom. Is he going to be able to sweep? And if he sweeps, is he going to be able to take the back? Or is he going to be able to thug it out on top and pass or get – because I don't think there's advantages.
Nope,
there's no advantages in this rule set. There's no advantages, so you got to score.
Yeah.
That
changes it. But Jonatha is what he has that's very, very sneaky. Hafa in those situations, he has a very strong back attack from the top that doesn't require him to pass. I always call it that loop-de-loop stuff. You know what I mean? So he's going to stay in the legs. He's going to do he's going to do some variation of a ninja back take or a diving back roll and create a scoring opportunity without having to pass the guard. So us old school guys are like, that's cheap. You know what I mean? But it is the way jiu-jitsu is played, and it's actually very masterful. It's actually one of the probably one of the most spectacular things you'll see in jiu-jitsu, if you know what you're looking at, is these guys who can manipulate certain positions and do things like that without doing it the old conventional way. And I think Jonatha has that ability. He has that ability to be dangerous from the top without passing the guard. So, and again, like I said, I'm very impressed with him, but he's not. Almost everyone in this division uses those type of attacks, and I don't know if Jonatha has an advantage in that regard as far as, because like I said, Jamil uses those type of attacks. I mean, I can go all the way up and down. I think only Marcio Andre doesn't really get into that. Marcio Andre plays a little more old school. He's not gonna roll around on his back when you're already on your back. Not that much, I should say. He's a lightweight. Lightweights are lightweights. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, but he's not going to do it as much. He's going to play a little more conventional. He's going to be right in your face with it. But Jonatha has that. So with the points being the way they are, it's definitely proves to be a different dynamic for someone who plays the way he plays, but he can flip it around on you too. I think that, you can't get too comfortable and be like, what are you going to do now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm ahead and you're not, you're on the bottom and you have to try to pass my guard now. No, he does not really. He doesn't have to. He's got a whole bunch of stuff up his sleeve. He doesn't have to pass. He can score. He can score differently, or he can attack with a strong enough attack to force you to come up on top without him losing any points, so.
Next up, first American on the list, a guy that, another example of, they had to thug it out, they had to grind it out, wasn't always a blue chipper. Isaac Doederlein, Brazilian national champion and European Open champion. What are your thoughts on Isaac?
Did he just fight on Fight to Win recently, or was I watching an old match? I saw him against like this Galvao guy. It was a beautiful match. It was beautiful. Like,
I think Isaac doesn't get a fair shake. You talk about someone who doesn't get enough recognition. I put Isaac in that category. He has been on the cusp of doing some really big things, and I mean, he's been also on the back on the wrong side of some really rough calls, and there was a match between him and Marcio Andre at brown belt, a finals match. I believe that was Isaac. It was pretty controversial. I mean, and then he's also, disclaimer, everyone knows I love the Musamekis. I love them to death. But I think he's the last one who really gave Mikey a legitimate loss that I can remember, was Isaac. I think Mikey bumped up to light feather 1 year when I think he either just got his black belt, or maybe it was his second year, I'm not sure, but he bumped up a weight, and then Isaac was able to beat him in a pretty, and he didn't beat him bad, but he was able to control the match and beat Mikey. Probably the best thing that ever happened to Mikey, because Mikey came back and we know what Mikey's doing now. So, but Isaac doesn't get credit for a lot of wins that he's had and a lot of really good matches that he's had. So, but he's out there. He has, to me, one of the slickest games in this whole matchup. And I think partially I say slick because it's kind of like what I'm saying, because he doesn't get the credit. So people may overlook him, or may think that he's not the most dangerous guy in this field. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, every single one of these guys, I think, can pull it off. Like, if I were to make a list from top to bottom, but every single one of them can pull it off. They can all run off 3 matches. I believe they can, and depends on the draw, depends on, there might be a guy that I say, man, Isaac has never beaten this guy, but maybe Marcio beats him, and then Isaac beats Marcio. You know what I mean? That's just the beauty of a 8-man tournament like this, right? So it's about who reaches the top of the mountain. Isaac, of course, all his double guard pull stuff is top notch. All his berimbolo is reverse de la Eva, his all his attacks. He plays the game pretty well. He has a ton of experience. I'm trying to think. He actually, he had a couple really, I've experienced coaching against him at the Pans in 2019. He had a really good match against Jamil. Then we fought him in the DC Open, a really tough match. I mean, he's not the guy you want to see on the other side. As the athletes don't care, but when you're a coach and you're like, man, okay, how am I going to game plan for this guy? He's not easy to game plan against. He's pretty good from everywhere. One thing that I've noticed from him a couple of years ago, to me, he was one of those guys coming up like in that new wave of jiu-jitsu. He's constantly just rolling underneath himself and being underneath and looking for, reverse de la Riva sweeps, berimbolo sweeps, back takes. But lately, even 2019, when he fought Jamil, I've started to see his game expand a little bit, meaning he seems to be a little more confident now. He's starting to do some more things in his game. Like he's a little better on top now. Not that he was ever bad on top, but I don't find him playing safe. Like back in the day, I used to feel like he was one of those guys that wanted to play it safe. I mean, kind of how Jonathan plays, but Jonathan's where, like you said, what he's really good at, he's really good at. So when he's playing it safe, it's dangerous for everyone else. Doederlein, I don't think, had that at first when he first got to black belt. He was just a scrapper who was good at these positions. Now he's more of an all-around athlete. And like I said, he does one thing is it may be a gift, it may be a curse, but I think sometimes he gets overlooked and there's no reason for it. I consider him one of the most dangerous guys in the division. Everyone's in a division where everyone's dangerous. So he, and again, if he gets ahead of you, trying to come back on Isaac Doederlein is almost impossible from what I've seen in my experience. When he gets ahead, trying to score a point on him is literally impossible. It's very hard to do. You're not gonna find it. When's the last time you seen Isaac Doederlein get finished? Or when's the last time you seen him, with his back taken or mounted or even his guard pass? It doesn't happen often. So I can't remember a time. I'm sure he competes a lot, so I'm sure there's a match out there where he probably, someone got the best of him once, but I haven't seen it. So I think I take his game very seriously as far as everything he's good at. His only weakness to me is he's a little small. I think he's a little small for this. The same way Jonathan is a little big. He's like on the opposite end of that. He's basically he's a light featherweight who fights featherweight, but he could fight light featherweight. And now he's fighting in a division that's full of featherweights, but they have a heavier window. They get to be 160. So that could be a disadvantage for him. And I think strength is definitely a disadvantage. And he hasn't racked in a lot of big wins. So he's had a lot of great matches with really good guys, but he hasn't turned those into wins that I've seen, So you're like, man, he fought Jamil really tough. He fought Marcio Andre really tough. He fought this guy really tough. Man, this guy he's no slouch, but he's not getting the W's. So maybe this year is his year. Maybe it's going to be his time right now, but those W's matter as you're coming up the ranks and you're trying to make a name for yourself. You want to get those W's. They matter. They matter for athletes' confidence. It basically teaches them how to win and teaches them how to, gives them that little bit of extra that they need sometimes. And I don't know if he has that yet. He might. I mean, he trains with a great team. He trains with a great instructor. He's training partners. I think he's trains in the same gym with Kennedy Masael, Cobrinha's son. So he's got good training partners. I'm sure they go at it every day. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my take on Isaac.
Isaac to me has been one of those guys that has always been on the cusp, and win or lose, he's always game. He's a Brazilian national champion. He beat one of the E.U.G, European champion. My first time ever seeing him compete was in Europeans in 2011, and he was a belt ahead of me. So I was a blue belt. He was a purple belt, and he did the War of the Worlds tournament with the Team USA, and he was the littlest guy on the team, and he was just pulling guard as much as he could, just jumping at the guy's legs to pull guard. And to see how he's evolved into a guy that is really from every position trying to kill you, the growth as a competitor, I'm super impressed by. What I noticed watching film of him for this podcast was he has great anticipation. He has great anticipation with his sweeps and his passes. He has had so much experience and he competes so consistently that he has that ultra instinct. He has a spidey sense to him where when he gets into a position where he's going to pass or sweep you, he's already a step ahead, and he's so great at avoiding getting tied up. And I think that's the key. The lighter weight guys, they get a bad rap because a lot of it is considered, I'm just going to tie you down. We're not going to do any kind of dynamic movements. I'm just trying to make it so I can win by advantage, and I'm going home, win or lose. I'm just going to say I only lost by advantage. Isaac Doederlein is not one of those guys, for better or for worse. You know, sometimes he could play the game a little bit tighter, but with someone with his experience, with someone with that skill set, with someone with his strength, I grappled him before. He is super strong, and he is super difficult to score on.
Yeah.
I feel bad because the guy is kind of peaking. Like he's progressively gotten better within the last 2 years. And this whole COVID-19 thing has totally like stunted it because he was on the path. If we were to have Worlds 2020 like it was supposed to be, he would have been one of my favorites to go to the finals. No one just goes to Brazil and beats the Meows clean. I think, like, although his record might not show, I feel as though he beat both Meow brothers, or at least one of them. I don't know which one it was that he fights the most. He's beat them more times than they beat him clean. Anyone that can do that in Brazil is a dog. You know, his X-guard ankle lock is his special move. He has a God tier X-guard ankle lock. The guy finishes. If you're not careful, he will finish you. Finishes in the lighter weight classes are harder to come by, especially outside of a back take, and especially if it's a leg lock.
Yeah.
You look at his pedigree, he's trained under the learning tree of Cobrinha. He has great training partners. I would not be surprised if Isaac won the whole damn thing, Master Donnie. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I root for the guy a lot just because he's American, just because I kind of respect him because I've been in the game for a long time, but I know for sure Isaac has been here for so long. But yeah, he's a danger. And the thing with lighter weight guys is they leave their feet dangling. They take the fact that they're little and they have little feet and they're flexible for granted, but he will take your foot home with him if he has to. That's all I got to say about Isaac. I mean, he's a killer. I really appreciate what he's doing. You know, he win, lose, or draw, he brings it. And with this rule set, who knows?
Yeah.
Next guy, he's new to the scene. He had an amazing Pans 2020. I know it was the pandemic Pans. Not everybody was able to make it. But his performance out of all of them impressed me the most. He is Thiago Macedo, Pan American and American Nationals champion. He's a fairly new black belt. Man, I'm gonna start off with him. I watched almost all of his recent matches. He's super game. He does not give a fuck at all. This guy, if you were to take Thiago Macedo and put him into Tijuca Tennis Club in 2001, he would fit in perfectly. I like his game. It's like he watched the Lucas Lepre guard series. He's a sitting guard, De La Riva combo guy. I mean, side note, I saw his match at Third Coast Grappling with Johnny Tama. I hate the Third Coast Grappling rules, but this guy is a fairly new black belt, and he was able to bring it to Johnny Tama, who is a seasoned black belt world champion, and he won. He likes to do single leg finishes from sweeps, which is a problem at the lighter weights because I think over the last 15, 20 years, lightweight grapplers in jiu-jitsu have gotten away from the whole facets of grappling. They don't do their finishes from coming up and putting you on your butt. I used to watch this highlight from the 2001 Worlds, and they would have guys like Marcio Feitosa, and they would just come up and sweep you. They just come up and put you down. Thiago Macedo is a throwback to that. And single leg finishes from sweeps are a lost art form at the lighter weights. And I think that's going to be an advantage for him since this is IBJJF rules and since these are points. Because if you single leg somebody, you put them down, you have control of a whole limb. If someone has control of your leg after they put you down, this whole De La Riva inversion stuff is way more difficult. You have to take two hands and account for that one limb being taken away from you. I think that's going to be one of his advantages as far as tactically and technically. He's masterful at scrambling. And for the lightweight division, he's great at defending Barambolos. He's great at countering the crab ride. I mean, Gianni Grippo, who's a great back taker, had full standing double crab ride, and nobody could finish him.
Yeah.
He takes away the hooks. He's going to roll with you. He's going to come up. He's going to turn in, and you're not going to score a point. You might get a couple advantages, but the way he is, he's so aggressive, you're not going to be up on points on him. He's aggressive with takedowns. He's not one of these lightweight guys, which you said was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. It's a scramble. Let me pull guard. He's not going to pull guard. He's going to try to take you down. He's going to grab a leg. The best way to describe this guy is that he's a junkyard dog. His biggest win to date is PANS 2020. That was the latest big Grand Slam tournament. And I got to say, man, I didn't know much about Thiago Macedo before we decided to do this podcast, but I'm a huge fan. He is my dark horse to win the tournament. What are your thoughts?
Okay. I agree with everything you said. He has definitely incorporated a lot. You can tell he works on his wrestling, which is definitely a strength. One thing I've noticed with him over the last 2 years, he's actually been around. He's been a black belt, I think, for about 3 years now. But in the last year and a half, 2 years, he's gotten considerably tougher to score on. He's like, he's so hard to score on. I mean, even, Jamil's had a couple matches with him. I've seen him fight a couple other, and even when he loses, it's like, in the beginning, it was almost annoying to watch. I would be like, oh my God, this guy, man, he's impossible, because he would be so defensive, but not just defensive, smart and defensive. So you knew it was just a matter of time. But now what you're starting to see with him, you're starting to see the confidence building in him. And now, whereas when at one time he would be maybe I would say overly defensive, right? Now that's over. He's not being overly defensive. He's picking his spots, and he knows how to win now. He knows how to play the game. He went from point avoidance to winning matches, if that makes sense. His strategy is is to win. And I think somewhere, I don't know when, I don't know what match, I don't know, but I know this guy was competing in it. If you looked at a tournament result page, he was in it. It didn't matter where it was. Any regional tournament in the United States, any major tournament, he was competing. I remember we saw him on the points and we're like, oh my God, Maceto's on, got this many points. And then you look like, man, he's competing in everything. So you knew it's just a matter of time, getting that type of experience and putting that type of time in on the mat. And obviously he's serious about what he does. He's incorporating other, one of my favorite phrases are the best do what the rest won't. He's incorporating wrestling in, he's incorporating different things in to give him an advantage and to complement the game that he's been working on that has transitioned from point avoidance to winning. So I think that that's where he's most dangerous is the fact that he can score from everywhere. He's super hard to score on. I think he could probably frustrate a lot of people into a lot of bad decisions in a match, even if he's not winning. So he's so smart. He knows how to play the edge. He knows how to. He won the Pans, and he had. I mean, I'm watching the match, and of course, you know, if I'm building the story for him, whether this is true or not, it's almost like he's allowing Matheus Gabriel, who we'll be talking about later, he's allowing Matheus Gabriel to attack these submissions so that he won't continue to go after the points. You know, he's that type of smart. And like I said, that could have just been a false observation of mine. But when I'm watching it, I always watch a match, and I normally watch it more than once, but I always try to watch it from the perspective of each grappler. So like I'm rooting for this guy, and then I'm rooting for this guy. And I'm sitting there when I'm on Matheus Gabriel's side, I'm sitting there going, man, get your points, dude. Get your point. But he's literally being out slicked by Macedo. And I guess that's a good word that I should use. He's very slick. I mean, he's put the time in. He's taken the losses, and now he's learned how to win. And that makes him very dangerous because, like you said, old school Tijuca Tennis Club. I remember Master Loy used to tell me a long time ago, he used to say, man, it don't matter if you win by submission. It don't matter if you win by advantage. Your job is to get to the next round until there are no more rounds to get to.
Hey, you just got to make it through.
And
get out, baby.
Yeah, that's Macedo. It don't matter. He's good. He's going to the next round. He's going to do everything in his power to get to the next round. And I see the passion that he has when he's on the mat. I see how upset he is when he loses. I see how, you know, how hard he fights to win. So, you know, it's hard, you know, when you see a guy who doesn't, you know, just jump on the scene right away, and he's not like whooping up on everyone right off the gate, but you see him at every tournament and he's constantly getting better and better and better. Well, I'm a fan of that, you know, and to me and now he's right there. How do you bet against him? You know what I mean? Like, how do you bet against him? It's hard to bet against that guy because he's going to pull out every trick that he has to win. But like you said, technically he's sound. He's sound from everywhere. Like I said, I love the fact that he's willing to get in scrambles. I love the fact that he can fight whatever type of fight you want. You want to play a slow place, boring match and be on the corner of the mat for 7 minutes, yawning. He'll do that as long as he finds a way to come on top. But if you want to just keep backing up and keep trying to score and keep trying to find scrambling opportunities, he'll do that too. So he's a rare success story because I'll say this, he has a lot of success without having to be the guy who dictates the pace. He is a counter grappler from top to bottom. If that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. He is a consummate counter grappler.
But that makes it more masterful if you think about it,
Yeah.
because he has such a diversity of technique that he is always able to adapt and get the W.
Yes.
That dichotomy to a lot of guys in the lighter weights. And I can make the argument that most grapplers in the modern era aren't really trying to win like that. Most guys like to play in their little box, which takes me to the next guy on the list, which this guy is fantastic. Before I say anything else, this guy is a beast. He's won Nogi Pans. He's won Nogi Worlds. He's won Gi Pans. He, in 2019, I believe he was up there for Fighter of the Year. And I appreciate him. He's an East Coast kid. He's done it all. He is been in the game for years, countless hours, countless years being in the game. Gianni Grippo. He knows as much, if not more, jiu-jitsu than anyone else in the bracket. Another guy with a God tier berimbolo. The thing with Gianni, man, is like he's a perfectionist. His pedigree is unmatched. New Jersey kid came up in the Nagas. Like, I was a kid when I started training at like 16 years old. It's basically a child. But he was in it before me. He's like Ryan Villagram, Jamil era almost. Berimbolo specialist, can take your back in the blink of an eye. The thing with Gianni is that he has the ability to wash anyone. He has the techniques to kill anybody. But I hate to say this, he cares too much and he overthinks it, I think. He's from this era, like he came up in the gritty era of the 2000s when he first started, where it was like kill or be killed. But then, like, I'd say around the aughts, like about 09, 10, 11, 12, that was the era where it's like, let's win by advantage and scream at the top of our lungs era. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he could wash anybody. He's a killer. He's obsessed with the game. I know of him. I know people that have trained with him. I know where he came from. I've seen it. I've seen it within Gianni where he's the equal to Jamil in a lot of ways, who I think is one of the best there is. But I think a lot of it is, like you said, it's different from Thiago Macedo. Gianni is very meticulous, which is fantastic, which for 99.9% of the guys that you will go against and the situations that you will go through will work. And he could scientifically break down everyone in this bracket and win. However, if shit hits the fan, I don't know necessarily how he'll be able to react. What are your thoughts?
Gianni, I mean, everything you said, like, I know as an athlete, I don't know Gianni personally. You know, I've never hung out with Gianni, but I've known this kid. He's not a kid anymore, but I know Gianni since he's like 10, 11 years old. You know, we've been through multiple rivalries when he was a kid. We've got like him and Ryan Villagram were rivals coming up. He tapped out Ryan, and then Ryan had like an 8-match winning streak, and then he came back and had like a 4-match winning streak, and then they were both in the same division at the Worlds, and Gianni ended up winning. Ryan got beat by this tall guy, and Gianni ended up winning the division. I mean, we've been around Gianni for years, and one thing before I even get into anything else, and I promise I'm not saying this so that I can say something bad about him. I'm just saying straight up, Gianni is probably, from what I've experienced, outside of the intensity of a match or a win or a loss, but anything outside of that, he is probably the nicest person in this game. Like, he's so nice. Like, he's such a nice guy. He's open. His parents are the nicest people you'll ever meet. And they've done a heck of a job with him, because getting back into the nuts and bolts of jiu-jitsu, he probably is one of the hardest workers in the game, if not the hardest worker. I mean, this dude is not, when you look at his IG page or you look at Facebook, whatever, you know, you follow him on social media, and he's climbing up ropes, and he's not just doing that for Facebook. Like, he does that. Like, I think DJ or someone was out of town with him, and all he's doing is trying to find places to go where he can work out or get his drills in or do what he needs to do. And I really admire that about Gianni. He's a winner. I think Gianni, one of the things that has been an issue with Gianni is timing. Like, the timing for Gianni has been really rough, because first of all, Gianni was one of the first American kids to really start making a splash in jiu-jitsu. So if you're an American kid and you're growing up in Jersey, and I'm just guessing, I don't know Gianni's story. Me and him have never had a conversation about it. But Gianni was kind of in it. I'm a big believer. I have the kids watch all the greats. I have them watch, you know, Jacare, Teddy. Gianni was a big fan of jiu-jitsu, and probably still is. You know, his dad took him down to Brazil. I think he actually was there when Jacare let his arm break, and you know what I mean? Like, he's been around this game and seen things, seen some of the most historical moments of jiu-jitsu as a kid. Now, one thing that I think, though, that got him is, I think somewhere Gianni has redefined himself a lot as far as his game. And like, you know me, I'm old school. I go back. I personally, like, the first game I ever seen Gianni play, I thought he was dangerous. He was submitting everybody. So when Gianni started to become a 50-50 guy and only do 50-50 positions and stuff like that, I was like, he slowed himself down. You know what I mean? Then he switched to becoming one of the most deadliest berimbolo guys. I'm over here as the critic. I'm like, man, and understand, I root for Gianni. I really like Gianni. Only time I don't want Gianni to win 100% is if he's going against one of our guys. I 100% have never rooted against Gianni unless he's going against one of our guys. I always wanted him. Like last year when Jamil had to pull out from the Worlds because of his appendix, we were all Gianni. We wanted to see Gianni win that division so bad, you know, because he definitely has put the work in. But I think what's happened, that's, you know, if you look at Gianni, what may have slowed him down, what may haven't, who knows? I'm just speculating. But he's redefined himself a few times. And anytime you do that, at the end of the road, you're going to be better for it. But when you're in the mix, and you're winning, and you're expected to win every year, and you're trying to win every year. So by the time Gianni gets to black belt, and he's the new kid on the block, the American kid, a 20-year-old, I think 20 years old, 21 years old, and it's time for him to set his mark. But his game was like the beginning blueprint of Hoffa's game, and Hoffa was still in his prime. So the problem there is, man, what are you going to do? So what was Gianni doing in the beginning? He was like cutting down to like light feather. And I don't think it had nothing to do with him trying to avoid anybody, but it was just, you know, he built his game off of these guys and off of being a fan and respecting these guys so much that he built such a strong game. But how's he going to beat these guys with that game? And that's what started happening. He couldn't keep making that weight. Gianni's a pretty buff dude. He couldn't stay at, you know, light feather. So eventually it's like, okay, whatever, we're going to have to fight. And he go out there and fight Hoffa, and he fought Cabrera, you know, and he had to fight these legends as a young kid. And these guys are already firing on all cylinders, you know? And so it's part of it. And then when his window did open up, you got Jamil in there. You got these other guys in there. And then he's had a lot of success against Jamil. Most people remember Jamil beating him because it was in the pans, but he actually had success against Jamil. So, but he just hasn't, again, he's won, like, it's that world title. He's won everything else. Everything else. No-gi world. He won the king of mats. He's beaten both Meow brothers, I believe. He's won 5 grappling. He's won Pan Ams twice.
He's won it all.
Twice. He's
it's
won
just the only thing he's missing is that
one
gi world title.
And it's such a rough thing, because everyone coming up in jiu-jitsu, if you're coming up in a classic jiu-jitsu school that competes and is about elite competition, that is the biggest event of the year. You know what I mean? Everyone who comes up like we did, that is always the pinnacle, right? So that's the only thing he's missing. So and now his game is evolved. It is, like you said, he can do everything. He can berimbolo. He can, all those little things that I just said, that all the things that he redefined and added to his game and redefined himself those 3 or 4 times. Now all that's combined now. So he is mega dangerous. Sometimes though, like you said, sometimes I think it does become a thing of overthinking something, just being caught in the moment. He plays the edges and plays the points better than anyone. I will say this, I do put him in the same category. He is not great at scoring from scrambles that he doesn't initiate. So he doesn't have like that wrestler. But I might probably have to ask Gianni the next time I see him. I think he does have some wrestling. He does have some wrestling skills. He doesn't seem to break it out. He doesn't seem to break those skills out inside of jiu-jitsu matches that I've seen. His own, like I said, his only weakness would be sometimes I think in the moment he hasn't taken what should have been his. I've seen Gianni lose a couple matches by an advantage, or a couple matches by a referee decision, and a couple of those matches should have been his. I'll say, I'm not afraid to say it. He got cheated a couple of times, but when you look at those at the end of those matches, I have my whole other opinion on this, but he'll finish those matches, and you can see in his face he feel like he won, and I felt like he won, and most of the people that I'm with felt like he won, but you know how it is.
Yeah,
he didn't win.
Trust me, I know.
So I don't think he internalized that early enough, because those moments, if he knew that, if he knew that, that from the sideline, you have to be, if I'm on the sideline or his own personal coach on his shoulder, you're not going to win if it goes to the referees. And in those moments, I haven't seen him be able to pull that off. I've seen him pull off some great stuff. And he's, like I said, he's just as dangerous, if not. Again, he's another one. How do you bet against him? They say he's only not won one tournament. There's only one tournament he hasn't won. And guess what? This ain't one of those tournaments. And he has had nothing but success in competing in these type of tournaments. These specialized, throw the gi on, we're going to match everyone up. This is what he does. This is where he has thrived in his career. This is where he's made his biggest splash, or on these type of events. So like I said, I think he has a really good chance, as long as he's in there and he's confident and he takes all that experience that he has, and I'm wondering, I think he has, I'm guessing, but he's at the point now where I'm hoping he understands that he's the wise guy now. He's the grizzled vet.
Yes.
I hope he don't you're not the little kid no more. You are smarter than these guys that are out here. You got to use all that experience that you have and use it to come out on top, you know, and he has, if he hasn't made that transition yet mentally, he needs to make that transition to get the things that he hasn't gotten so far, in my opinion.
I think it's his time to shine, man.
Yeah.
I've been paying attention to him on social media, and I think he's ready to take some heads. So we got 3 more guys left. I want to run through these dudes because we got like a special segment.
Short time.
We got a special and we got a special announcement to make.
Okay.
So next up, Matheus Gabriel, world and Pan Am champion from 2019 prior to COVID. This guy is a personification of a finisher. No guard is safe from him. His name is Matheus Gabriel. He knows the rules to a T. I mean, you know, I like watching Matheus Gabriel fight when he's trying to kill. Other times, not so much. I saw he made it to the finals of Spider. He fought Levi Jones-Leary, and I've never competed against Matheus Gabriel, but it looks like he's really strong. You've definitely broke down his footage. Give me a quick synopsis of what you think about this guy.
Matheus Gabriel, probably one of the most fun guys to watch. He reminds me a lot of May. Of course, he's ahead of May in jiu-jitsu, but he seems to have that type of mentality. And, you know, May is a killer. You know, that's what we call him on TLI in our gym. Man, when you see somebody, they got a little something going, they got that little bit extra. Matheus Gabriel is definitely a killer. He does not mess around. He doesn't care. He's trying to take you out. I believe he's at his best when he's doing that. I think if there's a weakness to his game is when he starts getting a little too gamey. You know, you in the black belt division, you have to play the game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, and like I said, Macedo got that W over him because he got a little too crazy going for the submission. So I don't mean to contradict myself, but I do believe the best version of Matheus Gabriel is when he's in attack mode and he's going for it. He always seems to be most dangerous when he's behind. He's very dangerous. He's got victories over Gianni when he came from behind at the Worlds. I think I didn't rewatch the match. I should have. I believe he was behind against Marcio Andre. He is dangerous. So he goes for submissions and he catches people. He catches what he does. And it reminds me of somebody else. What he does that most people, and I teach this every day. He catches you when you think that we're not gonna move for a second. So you'll get at the end of a scramble and you'll get it. And you know, when you're grappling, you kind of get in a rhythm. It's almost like a dance sometimes, right? Yeah. And he lets you know that this ain't no dance. I'm trying to get you. And you'll see it. People will get done with doing something, defending, and they'll go to take that breath, and then he's got their arms locked out. And next thing you know, they're jumping and flipping and trying to cartwheel out of this armbar. You know what I mean? I mean, if you watch the match against him and Jamil, he caught Jamil and he didn't finish him, but he put
Caught him slipping.
Yeah.
Caught him slipping.
Caught him slipping in that.
Marcio Andre.
Marcio
I gotta
Andre.
admit, that was 100%. The craziest. Isn't that one of the craziest like crowd reactions that you've ever been in personally? Yeah. Because we were just sitting there like, oh shit, and like you're like, oh, I'm like, oh.
Listen, he is like that is him. He is like an assassin. He will get you, and he's refreshing to watch. As a fan of jiu-jitsu, he's good for the sport. He's the guy that if you're gonna demonstrate jiu-jitsu somewhere and you're trying to sell your sport, you're like, hey, we want to have our sport come in and be in a major athletic program in your college. You're gonna bring a highlight clip of Matheus Gabriel. You know what I mean? You're not gonna bring a highlight clip of a lot of these other guys. You know, no disrespect, but Matheus Gabriel plays jiu-jitsu like he has a throwback mentality, but he's from the new school, so he can do everything that they're doing. I mean, the guy is a world champion, and he I don't remember who the first guy was that he beat, but he beat. Oh no, do I have this correct? I'm not sure the first guy he beat, but he beat Gianni in the semis and Marcio Andre in the finals. He did not.
He had a crazy run, bro.
Yeah,
he had a crazy run. He's jiu-jitsu's version of RKO out of nowhere.
And he also, just to let you know, it's not just always about subs either. He's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it no matter what. And that's how he pulled off a victory against Jonatha Alves too. And I think there's a serious, you thought that would be a very difficult match for him to win, you know, because it seemed like he needs to have a little bit of free reign and he needs to be able to jump around and move around and do some things to really get out on somebody. And Jonathan was a total opposite of that. But when they fought in Spider, Jonathan, who's a master of nullifying that type of stuff, you know, man, he couldn't get it. He couldn't get a hold of this guy. This guy he ain't messing around. He plays jiu-jitsu to me the way you want to see it played. Everyone's going to have their own version of jiu-jitsu and their own definition, but his display of jiu-jitsu is fun to watch. It's easy on the eyes and it creates fans, and that's why he got that crowd reaction. You got people screaming out that had nothing to do with his team or him, but it was just impressive to watch, impressive to see. He's fun to watch. And of course, I mean, he's the current world champion. So
he's the only technical equal I see to Jamil, because that match at Pans, even though Jamil got screwed, the way he was able to deal with Jamil's attacks with such poise, and mind you, Jamil was the reigning world champ. Yeah, super impressive. Next, we got two more. Andy Murasaki. Not a lot of footage on Andy. Yeah. But Pan and European champion in the color belts. 2 points I have for him. Vicious passing. Like any little guy that can bust ass in an open division. Yeah. And like, I'm like, holy shit. Like, is it like, man, I pass like that. Like, I'm impressed. I'm like, hey, right on, brother. Like, put your shoulder in this guy's jaw. And he reminds me of Bruno Malfacini in a lot of ways. Just the way he's just thugging it out. I said this once, I said it again. He thugged it out. It's like, all right, I may be smaller than you, but my technique is crisper, and I'm just way more stronger than you. And even if you try to grab me, I'm so quick and so tiny, you're not gonna be able to catch me. Thoughts?
Again, same thing. Not as much footage with him. I have actually coached against him a couple of times on his rise up. Rico had a fight with him as juveniles. May had a good match against him at purple belt. He's impressive. I like his game a lot. It's crazy because I know he hasn't been with Andre Galvao that long, but I like the total complete package he brings. Like I said, it reminds me of Andre Galvao. He has a complete game. He's not one of those guys that can't score. He can score from everywhere. There's nowhere you're going to take a match where you're like, okay, got him, got his number, he's done. There's no situation like that for me. Watching him, only thing we're missing is we haven't seen him, even though he's had the great performances this year. Again, call me being negative, whatever you want to call it, but you know, some of these tournaments are a little bit watered down, you know what I mean? So You're not seeing, it's not fair to him that I say that, but the truth is the truth. He's there to fight whoever's there, and he fought and won impressively at the events he was at. But for me as an analyst, I would love to have seen the brown belt matches against a May or against, some of these other guys that weren't black belts yet, just like him. Then when he had his success, he goes to black belt, and we just haven't seen him. So his biggest weakness is going to be experience. It's going to be it. I can't imagine, it takes a lot. You got a guy who's been coming up in jiu-jitsu, and he's a brand new black belt. Now he's going to be fighting Marcio Andre. Whoever he draws first round, he's going to be fighting Doederlein. He's going to be fighting all these guys with so much experience, so obviously that's going to be a drawback for him. The way I would be approaching if I was him is actually an advantage, because now you don't have to care about anything. You just go out there and try to wreck shop, and have fun with it. But game wise, he's strong. He's strong from everywhere. I'm watching his match, and I'm trying to decide, this is a De La Riva guy. Oh no, he's a closed guard guy. He does everything. He does everything good. I think he's really good at changing. When he's on the bottom, I think he's really good at changing his grips and moving his grips. When he's on the top, I think he's a little bit slow. He's a little bit slow with that stuff. But again, it's hard to tell when you're looking from the outside, and especially when he's at the black belt level now. Sometimes you think, oh man, this guy's slow when his grip changes, or he's slow. But sometimes that's just how they're moving. That's how they bait. That's their rhythm, So, for him, it's just trying to see. Like we're gonna see. This is his test. Hey, you're going up against the best black belts in your division. It's a great opportunity for him to see what's up. And like I said, I don't really see a weakness. I don't see a weakness in his game. It's just now, does he have the experience? He looks strong from everywhere. Looks like he can score from everywhere. He's comfortable closed guard, open guard. He's comfortable in the closed guard. He's comfortable in. I haven't seen anyone really lock him up and put him in a scenario that he's not comfortable in. I haven't seen it. So he scrambles well. He gets down on points and keeps his composure. So he looks good. Definitely well coached, and I don't have too much else.
I'm excited to see him, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this guy does. It's always interesting when guys go from the lower belts to the black belt ranks. And with a coach like Andre Galvao and a system like that, I'm pretty sure he's more than ready. But last but not least, our champion from the team. This guy, what can I say about this dude? World champion, Spider Invitational champion, creator of the Worm Guard, perfect combination to me of proper technique and innovation. If he's healthy, we're talking like prime blank. I put him up there, and people are gonna say, "Oh, he's on your team. Oh, you're dick riding." No, I'm being dead ass serious. I watched a lot of jiu-jitsu. This guy can beat any featherweight in the world. I've been waiting for Rafa Mendes to come out of retirement just to see this super fight with this young man. Shane Jamil Hill Taylor. This guy, I don't think he's been able to demonstrate just how great he is. This guy, I don't think he's had the opportunity to really focus entirely on jiu-jitsu. And I wish that the sport was in a point where this could be a viable career path, and that the stars aligned in which that he could really just do jiu-jitsu, because this guy's an artist. He's an innovator. I mean, we got guys biting off his style when he was in the juvenile class. And to see how his first year at black belt, he's taking on legends. I mean, Jamil, for all intents and purposes, he defeated Cabrinha her first year black belt. This young man should have been in the final. This guy ran through worlds like it was nothing. The only way you can really beat this dude is if he's injured or if you screw him in the judge's decision or with the points. He's the guy that I'm going to always pick as a favorite. He's the type of guy where if you give him a month to prepare for an opponent, he will dissect him. I personally ask him for advice when I have questions about what to do in jiu-jitsu and the gi, just because of his mind. He has a beautiful mind for this. He's my favorite to win. He's up there just as much as I would put. I think it's between him and, as I go through this, like, of course, our dark horse is Thiago Macedo and Marcio Andre, but he's the favorite in my eyes to win because I think he's healthy. I know he's a dog. I see the work he puts in, but tell me, Master Donnie, I mean, you brought this kid up from not knowing anything, having long-ass dreadlocks, to having this luscious afro and being the best grappler in the world. Tell me what you think about Jamil in this tournament.
Man, Jamil is definitely next level. And I like when I say next level, it's like when we watch Jamil and we see, and then you see him in these competitive matches, to me, and of course I'm biased. I'm going to be biased. But I tell you what I've seen and the world hasn't seen, and why Master Lloyd always talks about it when he brings his name up. He hasn't even really shown what he can do in the tournaments. Like the Cabrinha match was a good, like, for anyone that was wondering, you take a guy who's 20 years old who wasn't allowed to compete because he got his black belt too fast from his brown, he won brown belt worlds, he won purple belt worlds, got promoted, they made him wait. He won brown belt worlds, got promoted, made him wait. So he couldn't compete. So he literally fought in 2 tournaments prior to fighting at the world championships. And y'all saw what he did with Cabrinha. I don't let athletes that I coach, I always say that you know who won the match by whoever got their hand raised. From an athlete's perspective, you better look at it like that, right? But I'm the coach, you know what I mean? So we know what it was. We know what it is. I felt the same way about your match against Lucas Lecce in your first year of black belt. You need to take that as an L, but I don't have to. that's you know what I mean? So because we're watching and we see what's going on right in front of our eyes. We saw what happened. So you just take the what that means. You got a guy in his first year. You do understand. A lot of people don't understand like what that means. You have a guy in his first year at black belt with 3 tournaments worth of black belt experience, who just put a pretty good jiu-jitsu display on a guy, Cabrinha, who went on to win his 5th world title, but who had also won every single Grand Slam that particular year. People are like, Cabrinha's getting a little old, but he beat everybody that year. He didn't take a loss. He won Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi Pro. He won Brazilian Nationals. He won the Europeans. He won Pan Ams. And then he won Worlds after the match with Jamil. So then he comes back the following year, and we saw what he did. And, he pretty much had his way all the way through a division that didn't include a match against Marcio Andre. And also Cascal, who again is a guy that doesn't get enough credit because he's been on the medal stand at the World so many times, but he's fighting in the same era of Rafa and Cabrinha, But Jamil his mind for jiu-jitsu is just very strong. And it's not just strong he actually really enjoys jiu-jitsu. He enjoys every aspect of it. And the only thing that has held him back is his own health. His health, school, like the worst timing you could possibly imagine. You know what I mean? To get appendicitis 5 days, like he could have got that 2 weeks earlier or 1 week later. And, you know, we probably would have been witness to probably one of the greatest featherweight divisions in the history of BJJ, you know. But strengths, Jamil, obviously he's good from everywhere. He has the ability to score from every position, including standing. He's explosive. He's very strong for a featherweight. What people don't realize, they're so focused on his grips, they don't realize how strong his legs are. Those of you who like, you know, you grapple with him, but it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, he has great technique as well, but you've seen him elevate everybody he rolls with. He's elevating. Doesn't matter if you're 210, 220, 250. He's very strong in his legs. Creativity is, I mean, weakness, creativity. Jamil legitimately gets bored. He is I don't know. Y'all tell me he's a hipster. I don't really know what that means.
He's an artist.
Yeah,
he's an artist. He always needs to create. If he's not creating this shit, he's bored. He's that. You know what he's like, man? He's like the prince of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. He gets bored, and like, so and it's not anything like where he gets bored in the middle of a match, but I think sometimes he's more worried about painting the picture than winning the match. You know what I mean? And then every once in a while he'll get caught up in the moment, you know. So you have, you know, you have like the situation with Jamil likes moments. He likes the story of jiu-jitsu. Jamil's always at his best. Like, I shouldn't even say this because I do want, like, if someone talks smack or someone's being a braggart or someone's just a jerk, man, you'll always see Jamil's best matches when he's going against someone like this. You know, someone like beats someone, like has a good match against one of his teammates and jumps up and celebrates. And he remembers that stuff, you know what I mean? And if he has a match with that person, he's going to give that person the best version of himself. He's always been like that, even as a little kid. If a dude goes out there and starts bragging, starts pounding his chest, or has a very arrogant display after a win, oh, you're going to see the best version of him. So Jamil sometimes get caught up in the story that he's trying to tell. And in those moments at this black belt level, he's had to pay. I think he's progressed past that. You know, he's took the loss against Gianni and with 20 seconds left at the pans. He's taken the loss against Jonatha. We have learned about the battles that we've already accepted, that we're going to battle referees for the rest of his career. We've already accepted that. I literally had to tell him, I was like, well, you want to keep doing this? You understand this is what it's going to be. So we already understand that battle, and we're fine with it. So that's his only weakness. Is sometimes he just gets bored. He gets he's not bored of winning, but he gets more caught. When I say bored, it's just the artistic side of, I guess, the art, however he sees it. I don't really know. He's definitely, like I said, and I'm not going to go on here and say it, tell anyone that anyone in this division is an automatic W or is better than everyone else. But I'm always going to put my money on Jamil because, like I said, no matter what has happened, I mean, he's legitimately lost one match in the last, and like I said, the word legitimate.
A long ass time.
Yeah. He's legitimately lost one match. You know what I mean? So, you know, and then and he lost to Gianni, and then he's lost one match. So big ups to Gianni. So that if Gianni's watching this, big ups to you. So, but those are the guys that have given him trouble. But like I said, no, I'm not taking no credit away from anyone. A loss is a loss, and I'm not saying that Jamil wasn't focused, because he's always focused. But I do, like, as a coach, if I'm, you know, when I pull you to the side after a match and we're going to talk about what you did wrong, you know, you've heard me say it to you. That to me, I'm like, hey, you lost focus. You know, you lost focus. You played around. You thought it was a game, and it, you know, without you didn't think it was a game because you're a professional athlete, but you know what I'm saying. You know, that's yes. Just coach's lingo. You know, you thought it was a game and it wasn't a game, and you played around in an area you shouldn't be playing. Or you crossed enemy lines without your flak vest on. Thought
you got burned. You got shot up.
You thought you were going to do some rolling break falls to dodge these bullets, but they're coming too fast. So, yeah. So for me, Jamil, again, I'm gonna put him at the top of the list, and he's not even hit close to his prime, so I got to put him at the top of the list. He's got all the qualities that everyone else has, and I think he doesn't have it. He doesn't have any technical weaknesses, or you have to find a way to bring his weakness out, and it's every time.
That's very difficult to do. Super difficult. Yeah. So, I mean, that's our breakdown for Expand Your Game.
I think that's been one of the most thorough breakdowns I've ever heard.
Yes. You know, isn't it great? Like, we have two great jiu-jitsu minds, black belts with years of experience that we're sharing. You guys, this is shit that like people pay for. You know?
We're talking jiu-jitsu. We're actually talking about
jiu-jitsu. Yes, talking about jiu-jitsu. You know, speaking for paying for this kind of information, Nico, we have a special announcement to make, don't we?
Yeah, we dropping that Patreon. No fans only. No fans only. We dropped the fans only idea. Only fans.
No,
we dropped the OnlyFans idea. Tim's gonna keep his shirt on, but we are dropping the Patreon.
Nice.
Yes, we're dropping the Patreon.
Congrats.
Yeah, so we got like 3 Patreon membership levels. We got the little homie tier, we got the big homie tier, and we got the certified goons tier. You know, varying degrees of what kind of content you'll be privy to. I mean, at little homie tier, we got the bonus episodes that we have for you guys. It's a private community because, you know, being in the public eye and having a public podcast, you know, sometimes, Nico, we got to watch what we say. True or not? What would you say?
Facts. Yeah, no, definitely. Cancel culture and all this bullshit going on.
Oh, my God. Don't get me started. You know, we got the big homie tier. You know, you get the bonus episodes, you get the private community, but also you get exclusive content. Monthly Ask Me Anything things. I mean, you can ask me questions, but, you know, you can ask Nico stuff too. And we got secret, top secret, double secret merch for the certified goons tier. We got all that stuff. On top of that, we got live Q&As. We have fan requests for videos, for techniques. I have an entire gym in my house just sitting here waiting for stuff to get filmed on. I'm already teaching private lessons and group training sessions in here. But I mean, we take fan requests and we have video tutorials and lessons for our certified goons. So make sure that you guys go to patreon.com/BJJ goons. That's patreon.com/BJJ goons. And, you know, speaking of exclusive content, Nico, we got some stuff on the other side of this episode that we're going to drop on our Patreon, correct?
If you want to end the episode before I have to go to bed, yeah. But we'll do a Q&A, fan questions, stuff like that.
Yes. So for everyone listening on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, this has been the BJJ Goons podcast. Thank you again, Master Donnie, for sharing your years of information and knowledge. Nico, thanks again for being the best co-host that I could ask for. You can catch us at BJJ Goons Podcast on Instagram. You can catch Nico at Nico at Instagram or Facebook. You can catch me at Tim Springs BJJ on Instagram, or you can go to our Facebook page at BJJ Goons. This has been the BJJ Goons Podcast. Peace.